You'll agree with me that Meg Griffin is desperately unlucky when it comes to love, from crushes to heartbreaks. Meg's relationships are often cringeworthy, yet relatable. Here are 10 of Meg's relationship struggles. In the episode Kiss Seen Round the World, during class, Meg receives a note from an anonymous love interest, but when she finds out it's from the awkward and annoying Neil, she quickly crumbles the note.
No! Leave me alone!
We can't blame Meg. Neil isn't the type of guy most girls would be interested in. Moments later, a teacher gets arrested in a scene that attracts the attention of local media.
Oh my god! That's Tom Tucker from the news!
Hey kids, remember, Mr. T says, I pity the fool who does drugs.
You can tell Meg has already fallen helplessly in love. Following that brief encounter, Meg starts to spend an unhealthy amount of time watching the news, while fantasizing about Tom.
Whoa!
Yikes. Awkward. Oops, didn't see that coming. And as fate would have it, Meg gets the opportunity she had been waiting for.
Are you an area high school student interested in the glamorous world of unpaid internships? If so, we'd like to invite you to try out for Channel 5's Young Anchor program.
Determined to meet with her crush, Tom Tucker, Meg shows up for the interview, and fortunately for her, she gets the job. Although she had no idea why she was chosen.
Oh, God, I can't hire any of these girls. They're all too pretty. Their breasts are too perky. Perfect. Congratulations, you got the job.
If only Meg knew what just happened. But that's not the only surprise that awaited Meg.
Great! Who's my partner?
Hey there, hot stuff.
Seems like she's not escaping Neil anytime soon. Obviously, Meg doesn't like Neil, and he knows. But the nerd isn't going to give up so easily. So while she's busy trying to get Tom Tucker's attention...
Hi, Mr. Tucker. I brought you some Rice Krispie treats because I remember you saying you liked them once on the news. See, look, this one, it's in the shape of a heart.
Neil is fighting to make sure no one snatches Meg away from him.
Here's your coffee, Mr. Tucker.
What the hell is in this?
Sweet and low. That's for trying to steal my woman.
Go back and bring it to me with urine in it like I asked.
First of all, Neil is just an obsessed, scared little brat. Secondly, did Mr. Tucker just ask for urine in his coffee? A strange request. To show just how much he cares for Meg, Mr. Tucker sets her up for an easy death.
Mass media murderer. You know, I think this would be a fine opportunity to give our interns some real-world experience.
Hey, that means you'll get to ride in the Action 5 news chopper. I'm so jealous. Better put in for some new interns.
Looks to me like Tom really does like Meg. With death staring Meg in the eyes, she becomes open to any form of romantic affection, even from the annoying Neil Goldman.
I never even had my first kiss!
It's not too late, Meg. I'm here for you.
Yep, she had to picture him as Tom Tucker first. To make things even more embarrassing, Neil decides to let the whole world in on what should be their little secret.
There may have been some sort of commotion on the rooftop, but the real story was inside the mouths of Meg Griffin and Neil Goldman, where a meeting of the tongues, a summit of saliva, established a new world order of love.
If you thought what you just saw was weird, then check this out.
Let's watch it one more time in super slow-mo. This is where we cease to be Meg and Neil and begin life anew as Neil.
No comments. Like, really, no comments. So, to show their support for Meg, Peter and Lois invite Neil and his parents for dinner, with everyone acting as though they already are a couple. No one even cared to know how Meg truly felt. Eventually, she becomes fed up with everything and decides to retaliate.
The moon. There's a reason no one goes there. It's cold, and it's ugly. And its surface is plagued with deep craters and jagged peaks. Hear that, Neil? I don't like you, and I never will!
Isn't that a little too cruel? Well, following the embarrassment, Neil decides to put on a show, attempting to jump down from the top of the town hall building to end it all. Meg comes to his rescue.
Look, just because you're repulsive and probably the most annoying person on the planet, and I'm not the only person who thinks so, that doesn't mean I want you to go and kill yourself.
In Season 4, Episode 19, Brian Sings and Swings, Meg becomes lab partners with a girl named Sarah, who invites her to join her after-school club.
She can be my partner.
Hey, do you want to join my after-school club? Sure!
Neil catches wind of this new friendship and figures that Meg's rejection of him finally makes sense.
All those years of you rejecting me finally make sense.
Looks like someone finally got the hint. Confused by what Neil means, Meg is directed to a poster that says she's the newest member of the Lesbian Alliance Club.
Oh my god!
Meg goes to the meeting to break the news that she's not a lesbian. But when she learns that the whole group is going to throw her a party, she decides maybe she can try it out.
Sarah, I can't be in your club. I'm not a lesbian.
We had a whole party planned for you.
Wait! You didn't let me finish. I'm not a lesbian. I'm a super huge mega lesbian.
Who wouldn't want to fit in with a group of people who are actually accepting and supportive? Sounds like a solid life plan to me. To fit her new reputation, Meg decides to dress a bit more masculine and grow out a mullet. And if it wasn't clear enough, she outrightly tells her parents that she's gay.
Mom, Dad, I am a lesbian.
She is glad to see that Peter is supportive, even if it probably stems from a really gross place, for all the wrong reasons, of course.
That is awesome!
Lois, on the other hand, instantly clocks Meg for pretending to be something she isn't. What a shock. Lois being the voice of reason?
Meg, you are not a lesbian. I think you're just trying to fit in by pretending to be something you're not.
Why would she do that? She has such a great personality. Meg really tries to convince everyone she's gay, almost to an embarrassing degree. Yet somehow, that came off as the straightest thing ever.
Great, we're checking out naked girls. I am so into girls.
But Lois isn't convinced.
Oh, come on, Meg. You can stop the charade.
Lois then asks her for some proof, specifically Meg kissing Sarah.
What was that? What, is she a grandmother?
And because that's not awkward enough, Lois decides to demonstrate by making out with Sarah. Yeah, that's not weird at all.
That's no kiss. Watch this.
Meg finally gives in and goes to Sarah's house to open up.
Listen, Sarah, I gotta get something off my chest.
Though Sarah might have a different definition of opening up, she admits that she's not gay and only went along with it because she finally found a community for the first time in her life. Sarah is disappointed by the news, and she isn't the only one.
Yes! I'm not gay.
That was awful. That was just awful.
Well, that was a hot mess. If you're keeping track, that's 2 relationships down and approximately 473,219 more to go. May the odds be ever in her favor, but let's be real, they're not. In the episode Peter's Daughter, Peter gives Meg a rather insensitive instruction during a flash flood.
Hang on, Lois. There's a case of beer in the fridge. I can't leave that behind. Meg, you're a good swimmer. Go get it.
What? But Dad!
And for God's sake, do not be afraid to make me a sandwich while you're in there.
Talk about an irresponsible father. While trying to please her dad, Meg gets stuck and ends up passing out.
Yeah, you were right to criticize Meg. She could not even handle this simple task. She's in there right now, taking a nap underwater.
For God's sake, save her!
Such a dummy. They rush Meg to the hospital where Dr. Hartman informs them that Meg's in a coma. Her coma, however, turns out to be a blessing in disguise as she opens her eyes to see a young, hot intern doctor.
Well, hello, sleepyhead. I'm Michael.
Hi, Michael. I'm Meg.
Apparently, it doesn't take much for Meg to fall in love. So during their special Meg is back home dinner, the doorbell suddenly goes off, and guess who it is?
Hey, Meg, you ready to go?
Dad, you remember Michael Milano from the hospital? He's my date.
Michael sure moves quickly, but Peter suddenly becomes overprotective of his daughter.
Stay away from my daughter, you possible rapist!
Dad, stop it! Michael's my date!
Meg, I almost lost you once. I'm not gonna lose you again.
We all know it was all your fault. Lois, however, intervenes and convinces Peter to have a chat with Michael rather than just throwing him out after the not-so-friendly conversation. Peter agrees to let Michael take Meg on a date, but giving him the go-ahead doesn't mean he trusts him.
I think he's wearing some kind of disguise.
Oh my God, Dad! What do you think you're doing?
Peter? Oh, Peter!
I didn't say Peter. I said Dad.
Oh.
That just about sums up Peter's IQ. Frustrated by Peter's attempt to ruin their union, Michael breaks up with Meg. But things quickly go from bad to worse for Meg when 2 weeks later, she discovers that things are even more complicated.
It's not Michael I'm upset about.
Well, what is it then?
I'm pregnant.
I did not see that one coming. With Meg pregnant, Peter decides to take matters into his own hands. He no longer cares about his hate for Michael.
Now, I'm going to Michael's house to force him to marry you.
Gotta admit, Peter's intentions might actually be good, but his technique, isn't.
Why do you have a shotgun?
I just want to talk to him.
Dad, this is ridiculous.
I just want to talk to him. I just want to talk to him.
Being the gentleman he appears to be, Michael willingly accepts to take Meg back.
I love you. Will you marry me?
Yes!
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting her to say no. She's a yes girl after all. Lois then takes Meg to go get a gown in preparation for the wedding, even though she's not entirely in support of her keeping the baby.
Mom, I'm not getting an abortion.
Well, I'm not saying an abortion per se, but maybe you just drink and smoke a lot.
What?
Just don't stop doing it and then chicken out halfway through the pregnancy, because then you wind up with Chris.
Well, now we know why Chris is so silly. Can't blame the poor boy. Next, we witness perhaps one of the worst bachelorette parties ever.
What's your name, sweetie?
Dad, you know my name.
It's Officer Nasty. Careful, I might be carrying a concealed weapon.
Peter has no idea where to draw the line. They eventually make it to the wedding where Meg confesses that she wasn't actually pregnant. Yeah, she thought she was, but it was a mistake. And guess what? Michael instantly abandons her. Always knew there was something fishy about him. Meg falls for a nudist named Jeff, and things get weird fast. The episode From Method to Madness starts with the Griffin family visiting their nudist neighbors.
Welcome, Griffins!
Meg meets Jeff, a sax-playing nudist who's immediately smitten with her.
Is this the biggest thing you've ever seen?
Hey, don't get too cocky.
Jeff's charming, and Meg's into him. He's got that whole free-spirited thing. They hit it off, and Jeff asks Meg out on a date.
Would you want to do something sometime?
Sure, that'd be great.
However, things get complicated when Jeff comes over to the Griffin's house for a visit.
Holy moly! That's 8 things we have in common.
Peter, being the welcoming host that he is, tries to make Jeff feel at home by covering the furniture in plastic wrap. Yeah, that's not awkward at all.
I'm, keeping the couch fresh.
Meg is mortified, and Jeff is understandably uncomfortable, so he leaves.
I understand what's going on here. I'm gonna go.
Meg then expresses her own displeasure to them at how they treat someone she likes.
I can't believe you guys.
Meg, how could you bring that naked kid into our house?
Because I like him. He remembers my name.
Lois and Peter try to make Meg feel better by inviting Jeff over again, this time without Meg's knowledge.
We were wrong, Meg. If you like Jeff, we should give him a chance.
It's a sweet gesture, but let's be real, it's not like the Griffins are known for their subtlety. However, this time around, the Griffins decide to take a page from Jeff's book and go nudist themselves.
We wanted him to feel welcome in our home.
Chris, being the enthusiastic participant that he is, joins in on the fun, and soon the whole family is walking around naked.
Hey, why is everybody else naked?
It's a real family bonding experience. As the episode progresses, we see the Griffins dealing with their newfound nudism.
That's it, I win. Yeah, in your face, in your face.
Peter's just happy to be naked. It's a real family affair. In the end, Meg is happy, Jeff is happy, and the Griffins are, well, they're just happy to be naked, I guess. It's a weird family, but hey, at least they're consistent.
I'll see you later.
Thanks, you guys. That was really cool.
Poor Meg. She deserves all the happiness in the world, even if it means dating a nudist. In Valentine's Day in Quahog, Meg finally meets up with the guy she's been chatting with on the internet. And Stewie, once again, has some advice for his sister.
Okay, remember to ask questions about him. Seem interested. Listen. Giggle. Swallow.
For a toddler, Stewie seems to know a whole lot of perverted stuff. Meg's date kicks off perfectly until Toby drugs her.
To us. Meg, if you were any more beautiful, that'd be neat.
So what should we do next?
Can't even pretend. Toby's smooth, but in a dangerous kind of way. Meg wakes up inside the bathroom in a motel to find that Toby isn't exactly who he says he is.
Oh my god! Toby, what happened?
Oh, I just harvested your kidney.
Look at the size of the scar!
Sorry, it's my first day on this job.
And you are so calm about it. But here is where it gets even more creepy. Meg isn't worried about her stolen kidney or her health. Instead, her mind is on something else.
You promised we'd spend Valentine's Day together. The whole day. And I'm not letting you break that promise.
Being the polite and gentlemanly organ harvester that he is, Toby agrees to fulfill his promise. So with her coat soaked in blood and blood dripping off her body, Meg and Toby spend Valentine's Day together. From having ice cream in the park, romantic ice skating, and an exquisite Valentine's Day dinner at a Chinese restaurant, Meg continues to show just how desperate she is for attention. After a romantic day well spent, Toby drops her off at home and has a change of heart.
I gotta get this heart to Madonna.
Oh my god! Madonna needs a heart transplant?
No, she just doesn't want other people to have them for some reason.
I just had to include that part because, common, what did Madonna ever do to deserve such? Now, back to Meg.
But before I go, here,
For me? My kidney!
I wanted you to have it.
Oh, Toby, I love it! Thank you! Oh, this has been the best Valentine's Day ever.
What the hell just happened? In Season 17, Episode 6, Stand By Meg, Meg gives Lois a break. She takes Stewie to a birthday party where he chokes on a grape, and after Meg comes to his rescue, he starts to see her a little differently.
You saved me! You're my hero!
He even gives her a macaroni necklace.
Meg Griffin, you saved your brother's life, so here's your showcase of prizes. You'll be the talk of the town with your new macaroni necklace!
Now overprotective of his sister, Stewie reacts when Peter sits on her.
Hey, get off my sister!
Luckily, Lois comes in to shoo Peter away, but then gets mad at Meg for no good reason.
Peter, leave the baby alone. And Meg, why are you on the couch? You know you're not supposed to be on the furniture.
Stewie is disgusted by how Meg is treated, so to repay her for saving his life, he plans to give her the better life she deserves.
She deserves a better life than this, Brian. And you know what? I'm going to give it to her.
His first idea is to make her the most popular girl in school.
I'll just give Meg all the parts. That way she'll be the most popular girl in school.
He rigs the school's play cast list to give her all the parts. But now, how the hell is Meg supposed to play every character?
What satisfaction canst thou have tonight? Son of a bitch!
High school fame didn't work, so Stewie and Brian switched to something else.
All right, if we can't make Meg popular, we can at least find her a boyfriend.
Their first option? Neil Goldman. But before he is willing to hear their offer, he has one very gross request.
I've just looked at some porn, and I need you guys to give me some assisted relief.
We don't need to stick around to see what that looks like. Stewie and Brian, however, become frustrated in their quest.
There's literally no one in town sad and desperate enough to date my sister.
Kevin Swanson, of course. Surely being a soldier has made him depressed enough to say yes to a date with Meg. They might just want to ask him before he lights that match.
Look, we know you've had a hard road ever since you came home from Iraq. Well, this could be a chance for you to help someone else who maybe feels as bad inside as you do.
When they put it like that, Kevin agrees to ask Meg out.
Okay, I'll ask her out.
Meg excitedly returns home to tell Brian and Stewie that Kevin asked her out on a date. While the boys try to refrain from letting her know it was all their idea, emphasis on the word try,
You guys! I'm going out with Kevin Swanson!
Well, I'll be a monkey's uncle.
Meg is excited to go on a date with Kevin. And who can blame her? He's got the whole tough guy thing going. Or at least he's trying to. I mean, that mustache is quite the commitment. Brian and Stewie disguise themselves as restaurant workers and give the rest of the staff the night off, so they can control the whole setup.
We have to be in total control of the evening.
While that works to get Kevin and Meg a table, it does pose a challenge when a reservation of 46 walks in. Oh my, so much for self-employed restaurant workers.
There are 46 of us?
I hope they pay from their noses. As they go on their date, things start to take a turn for the worse. Kevin turns out to be a bit of a, well, let's just say he's not exactly the most emotionally available guy. What a shock. But Meg, being the eternal optimist, tries to make it work. Of course, things don't exactly go as planned. Kevin's, let's call them issues, start to surface, and Meg realizes she might be in over her head. Who didn't see that coming? Despite the chaos that ensues, Meg manages to come out on top with a newfound sense of confidence and self-worth. Yes, Meg. And Kevin? Well, let's just say he's trying to figure out how to use his emotions. Good luck with that, buddy. One bad Yelp review later, Meg returns from her date with less than stellar news.
Actually, we broke up.
Meg realizes some people are meant to be alone because they are probably too broken inside to fix. That's depressing.
Well, I guess some people are just meant to be alone, you know? They're so broken inside.
This brief moment of confidence and power actually makes Meg feel good about herself for a change. So, I guess this pairing wasn't that bad.
It actually felt great to be empowered for once.
It is an achievement after all for Stewie.
You know what, Brian? We actually did make Meg's life a little bit better. She got to dump someone.
Next, we move on to what is perhaps Meg's shortest relationship. In the episode Lego My Mego, after a rather terrible experience at gym class,
Connie, would you like to be a captain?
Sure, I pick everyone except Meg.
Fair enough. Go!
Meg decides to accept Ruth's invitation.
Hey, I know. If you hate it so much here, why don't you come to Paris for a semester with me instead?
Well, I don't think any girl would turn down a trip to Paris, though. Meg manages to convince her parents to let her go on the journey after assuring them that they wouldn't have to spend a dime, since she's all but got her expenses covered. Of course, Peter wouldn't want to spend money on a vacation for Meg, but at least he takes her to the airport.
And I'm gonna bring you back something special, little guy.
Don't worry about me, just get yourself laid.
Great advice, Stewie. Meg could do with a little action. At first, Paris is everything Meg could dream of until she gets kidnapped.
Oh my god, Dad. Are they gonna take me? I'm so scared.
Meg? Meg?
If you thought Peter would immediately swing into action to save his daughter, then think again.
What I do have is $2 and a Casio wristwatch. You can have one of them.
Traqueur Noir.
These guys are serious. Lois, Meg's dead!
For a second there, I actually thought he was going to do something. So, Meg's missing, and the FBI step in like they always do.
If she's not found within 96 hours, chances are she's gone forever.
Then we've got to hurry.
Sorry, we can't begin our search until she's been missing for 96 hours.
I always knew they were a very reliable agency. With all hope almost lost, Brian convinces Stewie to help out in the search for Meg. Weird enough, we get to see just how smart Stewie is. Smarter than Peter and way smarter than Chris.
God, Meg's kidnappers could be anywhere in France by now. But we do have one lead, Brian. I have a recording of the kidnapper's voice.
What, you do? How?
I recorded the kidnapper's phone call with the fat man.
If you are wondering who Stewie's referring to as the fat man, it's Peter. So they track Meg's movement from the time of her arrival in France down to where she was kidnapped, which leads them straight to the strange-looking man who accompanied the two naive girls. Unfortunately, he ends up dead. But after a rather intelligent investigation, they track Meg to a sex slave auction where she is purchased by an Arabian king.
Let me go, you fat bastard! I will never be your sex slave!
You misunderstand. I did not buy you to be my slave. I bought you for my son, and not to be his slave, but to be his wife.
Turns out that the king got Meg for his son, Crown Prince Faisal. That means Meg now has a tough decision to make.
If you say no, I will have you flown back to your family on our private jet. But if you say yes, I will spend the rest of my days making your every wish come true.
So what do you think Meg would say?
Oh, yes! Yes!
That was easy. Unfortunately, Stewie the baby assassin does his thing.
No! Stewie?
Who gave a toddler a gun? In the episode titled Deep Throat, Meg's life takes a dramatic turn as she once again makes some questionable life choices. Although her relationship with Adam West wasn't terrible, that small multi-decade age gap they had still felt a bit... Brian, on the other hand, has been lazing around the house like a dog with no purpose. Literally.
Brian, you still watching TV? God, you've been sitting there since I left.
He even spent an entire day watching Gwen Stefani documentaries on TV.
I spent all morning watching a VH1 special on Gwen Stefani.
What a productive member of society. When Brian finds out that Meg, who should be irresponsible, had gotten a job and works at Mayor Adam West's office, he realizes things are officially out of control.
I just found out I got that internship at Mayor West's office.
You see, Brian, Meg has a job.
Even you're doing better than Brian.
Desperate, Brian picks up a cab driving gig. Because, you know, that's exactly what you do when you're feeling down. You drive a cab. Things don't go perfectly. His first day, he's forced to drive Peter around.
Around the park one more time, Bitterman.
Peter, I'm not your chauffeur.
Next, he's forced to ram Lois off the road and even give Peter his gun to shoot her off. Just another day in the life of Brian Griffin.
Rammer.
What?
I said rammer!
What the hell?
Now shoot her tires out.
Brian's day goes even worse after he discovers a $400 parking ticket. Like any other responsible dog with a $400 parking ticket, he decides to go and complain to Mayor West. Unable to find West in his office, he takes his frustration out on Meg, who seems suspiciously willing to defend her boss.
Hey, Meg, I need to see the mayor about this $400 parking ticket.
What's up, Meg? Got a crush on the mayor? While the mayor is at lunch, Brian storms in to dispute the $400 parking ticket he received. He accuses the mayor of shady lawmaking practices, but Meg doesn't want to hear any of this.
You know, Meg, that guy's been playing fast and loose with his position for years now, and I've had it. He's a corrupt bastard.
To find some dirt on Mayor West, Brian and Stewie meet up with a mysterious Muppet in a parking garage who goes by the name Deep Throat.
Thank you for coming, Deep Throat.
Of course, every good conspiracy theory needs a deep throat. They go to City Hall to snoop around, but run into Meg in the mayor's office.
What are you doing here, Brian? Still trying to smear my boss?
Brian lies and says he's just there to apologize, which has Meg trusting them enough to leave them unattended in the office. Now alone, Brian finds what he needs.
The mayor's date book.
Brian reads the latest entries in the book, detailing a super secret meeting in a motel.
Super secret meeting at motel. Inform no one. I think we got him now.
Drilling a hole in the wall in the adjacent room, Brian peeps through to see Mayor West doing nothing illegal except for keeping his shoes on the bed. What a scandal. The pair are ready to give up, but Stewie spies someone coming into the room.
Wait, somebody's coming in. No, it's just some fat hooker. Oh my god, it's Meg!
With the mayor dating a teenage intern, Brian has just the story to take him down. Oh, Mayor West, you sly dog.
All we need is taped evidence.
Of course, Stewie has some disguises.
I thought you were supposed to get the suit and the top hat.
I like this one better.
Anything to wear a dress, huh?
Absolutely. Every good spy mission needs ridiculous disguises. Brian manages to get some recordings of them, but once they are on the move, he and Stewie decide for more.
Come on, we gotta follow them.
Meg tries to sneak back into her house, but Brian confronts her with the evidence he has gathered.
Listen, I'm warning you because I care about you. I am going to the press with this story.
So, Brian plans to go to the press with the story and, for Meg's sake, suggests separating herself from the mayor before it's too late.
Adam and I are in love!
Meanwhile, as they enjoy a hot, sensual evening watching cartoons in a motel, Meg tells the mayor about Brian's plans. West isn't afraid of what people will say about him since he's used to it, but worries what this could do to Meg.
Well, Meg, I'm a public figure. I'm used to the tabloid's duty. It's you I'm worried about. You're just a sweet young lady with her whole life ahead of her. This story could ruin your future, and I can't let that happen.
Mayor West decides to take the fall for the story, so Meg will come out clean.
I'll take the fall, no matter what.
Aw, isn't that sweet? He's willing to ruin his reputation for the sake of a teenage girl. How noble for a mayor who should be taking the fall for his country instead. Huh, who knew being a teenage intern for a mayor twice your age could be so complicated? With all of this, will she ever find true love? Probably not. But it'll be fun to watch her try. In Dial Meg for Murder, Brian gets a gig to write a piece on the everyday activities of a teenage girl. And since Meg's the closest specimen, Brian decides to write about her. To do this, accompanied by Stewie, Brian has to discreetly follow Meg to observe all that she does, which leads straight to her biggest secret.
What is that, Brian? What is an adult correctional institute?
It's a prison, Stewie.
Ah, one would think they could just say that.
Glad to know there are things the almighty Stewie doesn't know about. Well, we find out about Meg's secret convict boyfriend, Luke.
It's really good to see you, Meg. It's been a while.
I know, I'm sorry, Luke. It's just so hard to get over here without anybody finding out.
She has no idea that behind her is Stewie and Brian, both big-mouthed gossips who can't keep a secret.
Brian, you bastard! How could you do this to me?
I'm sorry, Meg. I had to tell them.
Already knew Brian was going to tell Lois the truth. And here comes the inevitable tongue lashing.
Frankly, I don't care, Meg. I do not want you seeing him again.
With no one willing to listen to her, Meg spends the entire night in bed sobbing when she hears a knock on the window.
My God, how did you get out?
I filed down a toothbrush to a fine point and stabbed the guard with the most kids.
I'm seriously beginning to question Meg's taste in men.
Actually, there was a riot in the prison yard and I slipped over the fence.
That's much better, but it's still a crime though. So, Meg lets Luke in, and after a steamy reunion moment, she's forced to hide him inside the wardrobe when a now remorseful Brian comes to apologize. But there's a thing about dogs and smell. They've got really sharp noses.
Luke, you might as well come out now.
This time around, Brian doesn't need to tell on her, because their string of misfortune continues as Peter walks in on them.
Sunday. Here it is. Peter gets more than he bargains for when he joins the rodeo. Boy, did I. And Meg dates a prison escapee!
Oh no! Luke, run!
Luke tries to quickly get away, but Peter alerts Joe, who immediately swings into action.
No, Luke! Don't run downhill!
It's funny that Meg's a whole lot smarter than her boyfriend, when she herself isn't that smart. Joe finally catches up with Luke and arrests him. By the way, Meg, too, isn't spared.
I know, that's the plan. You're under arrest for harboring an escaped convict.
Peter didn't exactly think it through before calling Joe, right? In Season 10, Episode 7 of Family Guy titled Amish Guy, their car breaks down on their way back from vacation, leaving them stranded without the luxuries of modern life.
Looks like it's the radiator.
Well, we're just gonna have to find a local mechanic.
In a desperate bid to find shelter, the Griffins reluctantly seek refuge with the local Amish community. Meg is displeased and uncomfortable about the way things are in the Amish community.
I assure you, our community is quite pleasant. Perhaps I could show thee around.
While exploring this quaint yet peculiar lifestyle, Meg meets Eli, an Amish boy who's as charming as he is naive. Their chemistry sparks immediately.
My name is Eli. My parents run the inn. If there's anything we can do to make your room more plain, do not be afraid to ask.
It's like they say opposites attract, especially when one of them has never seen a smartphone before. Eli takes Meg on a tour of the community, showing her the ropes of Amish life.
Thanks for a fun evening, Eli. And thanks for being so nice to me.
I think you are the most fascinating girl I have ever met, Meg.
She even gives him her iPhone, which is basically just a fancy paperweight. However, Eli's father, Ezekiel, is not amused by this budding romance.
Eli! What are you doing with that outsider?
Daddy issues, anyone? He forbids Meg from seeing Eli, fearing she'll corrupt his son with her worldly ways.
You stay away from her. She will try to corrupt you. You are not to see this girl again.
Clearly, the biggest threat to Amish purity is a teenage girl with a smartphone. Meg is sad and cries about this. She goes home crying and shares what just happened.
Eli's father, Ezekiel, said that I can't see him anymore. He said I was trying to corrupt his son.
She pleads with Peter to help speak to Ezekiel, Eli's father.
Dad, will you talk to Ezekiel? Will you tell him I'm not trying to corrupt his son? Please?
Peter, being the smooth-talking diplomat that he is, attempts to reason with Ezekiel. This should end well.
We live in two different worlds. I must do what is best for my son.
His efforts backfire spectacularly when he introduces the Amish to rock music with AC/DC's Highway to Hell.
Introducing rock and roll.
Rock music, the universal language. This only deepens the rift between the families. In a fit of rage, Ezekiel demands that the Griffins leave his community immediately.
Your family must leave our community and return to the outside world.
He provides them with a ride to make this possible, so they don't have any excuse. Eli, defying his father's orders, decides to sneak and follow Meg back to Quahog.
Eli, what are you doing here?
I could not let you leave without me, Meg. I love you.
Teenage rebellion at its finest. However, the drama doesn't end there. The Amish retaliate by vandalizing the Griffin home in a hilariously misguided attempt at revenge.
Holy crap, who did this?
It must have been my father. This is how the Amish declare a feud.
Nothing says we're angry like painting "Ye suck" on someone's house. In the end, both the Amish community and the Griffins reconcile, allowing Eli and Meg to love themselves again.
I am sorry there has been conflict between us. Allow me to make amends. Please, help yourself to anything in my cornhole.
All's well that ends well, only that Meg's still as single as ever before.